Hi boys and girls, today we're going to be using our tearing and gluing skills to make a collage of a sunflower. The first thing you're going to want to do, just like with any project, is you are going to write your name in the bottom corner of your paper. I am using just a normal pen to write my name. You can also write your class code, like if you're in kindergarten, Mr. Gruber's class, you could write KG, so I know which class this belongs to. That would be very helpful too. This is the front of my paper. I'm going to leave it on the front because artists sign their artwork and we are artists, so we want our name to be on the front of our paper. Next, I'm going to switch to a pencil and I'm going to draw a circle shape kind of in the middle of my paper. You don't have to put your circle in the middle of your paper if you don't want to. Remember, we're making a sunflower, and the sunflower has a big center. So do make your circle kind of large wherever you put it. If you put it, I'm going to use the back to show you an example. If you put your circle off to the side a little bit, that's totally fine. It just means there's not going to be as much room for petals on this side, but when you start drawing your petals, all you have to do is pretend like they go off of the paper. And so you just draw part of the petals. And you could even start on the side that has more space if you want. If you do decide to do this as well, one other thing before I switch back, you could probably fit two whole sunflowers or two parts of sunflowers on here. So I have all this space over here. I could make another one. And remember, we talked about this when we made another flower pot. Remember overlapping? It looks like this petal is going under this petal. And something good to remember, you don't want to draw through your petals. They're not see-through. Things need to go behind each other. So if you wanted to draw something like that, you could do that. Or here's another idea. If you just want to make it very large and kind of in the center, you could do that as well. Now, my petals are still going to be really big, and most of them still aren't going to fit on the paper because I'm making this huge, like a great big giant sunflower. So bright and yellow, it looks like the real sun, like from the story. So I'm going to just keep drawing flower petal shapes that go off of my paper. Oh, that one actually made it on. And this one's going to make it on. Okay, there we go. So now that I have my sunflower drawn, I'm going to put my pencil back in the bucket because I don't need it and I don't need it laying on the table in my way. And I'm going to put glue. Remember, these glue bottles, you don't have to open them. You just press and squeeze. You could even press and drag and squeeze, and it can make some nice lines. Just don't squeeze too hard. You still want little amounts of glue, not a lot. I'm going to kind of just draw with the glue and cover up a lot of this circle space because I'm going to fill this up with brown for the center of my sunflower. All the extra glue on here, so the next people don't have to wipe it off or pick off the extra glue. I'm sorry, you can wipe it off onto your fingers and then just rub your hands together. It'll go away. No big deal. Now, I'm going to use my tearing skills or my ripping skills. I'm going to pinch with my fingers and I'm going to rip into little pieces. You want the pieces to be about the size of the end of your thumb. Now my thumb is a little bit bigger than yours, so it's going to go a little bit faster for me than it would for you, but you're just going to rip and stick, and you might have to press them down. If you overlap these too much, if I try to put this one right on top of another one, there's no glue there. So you want to make sure you're getting a lot of the glue covered up. I'm starting with the outside circle first. You don't have to do that. You could start from the inside as long as you're just making sure to cover up all of your blue paper space and as much of the glue as you can. That is what you need to do. So I'm going to keep ripping and sticking on my paper here. And when I'm finished with that, I'll show you the next step. All right, so I finished the center of my sunflower here. I'm just going to press on some of those areas and make sure those are stuck down. I see a little spot right here. This guy needs a little bit of glue right there. So I just put one little dot. I'm going to try to press him down. I have a little glue on my fingers, so I'm just going to rub my fingers together, rub my hands together to get that glue off. Don't need to wash your hands every time because we're just going to get a little bit more messy as we're doing all of these sunflower petals. So same thing. I'm not going to cover this whole thing in glue. If I don't finish today, all my glue's going to dry and that's going to be wasteful. But if I just do a couple of little lines of glue, then I know I will be able to finish that little line in no time. And then I can put more glue on as I go. So while I covered up the whole circle because it wasn't that big of a space, I don't want to cover up all of the petals with glue because that could waste a whole lot of glue if I didn't get finished today. So I'm going to try to stick, okay, that's about as much as I can fit on that one. I'm going to add some more glue, and I'm going to use the dotting method for this, where I put little dots of glue instead of lines because I need to get into some skinny little areas there. There we go. So this is a pretty simple idea, but it makes a really beautiful artwork when you're finished with it. It has such a nice texture to it. The texture is kind of rough and crumply, sort of like the torn paper, and it just looks really wonderful when these are all hanging in the hall together. So thank you for working super hard on covering up as much of the blue paper space on your sunflowers as you can. And thank you for using correct amounts of glue where you use little dots or skinny lines, not a lot. I'm sure you're going to do a wonderful job with making your sunflowers look so bright and beautiful.